Factoring, we have several types we're going to do here. So first off, I would look at this as what you should always do first. Is there something common to all the terms? Always look for the greatest common factor. Have Muhammad Ali because he was, I am the greatest. So and you can see a 3 goes into 3 and 27. So I can just factor a 3 out. So the answer will be 3 times x squared plus 9. And because that's a plus, it will not factor any further. So that is the answer to question 1. I just had to factor something common out. There's nothing common here. So I'm going to factor 24. And because it's a minus, I'm going to put a minus in front of like all those numbers. These are the factors of 24, 1 and 24, 12 and 2, 3 and 8, 6, 4. And don't forget, you can find these if you need to go to your calculator and do y equals 24 divided by x and do it at your table. You find that these were the factors. And I always write the larger number first because as I do the subtraction here, which one of these makes the middle number? The 2. So then I know I have an x with a 6 and an x with a 4. The larger number of these two, 6 and 4, will always match the middle sign, which is a positive. This case was positive, so this is going to be a plus. And if the last one's a plus, they're the same. And if it's a negative, they're different. It's a negative, so therefore this one's different. So here we go. Now this time, always look for something common. 2 goes into 2, 8, and 16, and an x. So I can factor out a 2x. And when I do, I have a 2x, and then I will have, take 2x cubed divided by 2x, x squared. Negative 8 squared divided by 2x is negative 4x. And 8, now I need to factor 8, but I know the factors of 8 are 8 and 1, 4 and 2, and none of those are going to add to make 4. So I'm done. I'm just showing that right there. It's an 8, it's a plus, it's 9 and 6, none of those make 4. So the answer is this. There's your answer. Ooh, there's nothing common. There's no middle term, so I'm going to think of difference of squares. Like what's the square root of 25? 5 and x squared and the square root of 4. So I have a 5x plus 2 and a 5x minus 2. That was kind of one of those ones I always look at. I always think of that if they're square rootable numbers with a minus in between. Notice square rootable numbers with a minus in between. Square root of 81 is 9. And x, and you have a y, so you're going to put a 9x plus y and a 9x minus y. One will be positive and one will be negative. That always works if there's two terms that are both square rootables, because the middle term cancels out when you have the same thing. Because my middle term would be 9x times negative y and 9x times positive y, which would be 9xy and negative 9xy, which cancels out. That is y. A lot of y's in there. Ooh, is there something common? I believe so. Also, I would always factor out a negative if possible. So the largest number I can factor out is a negative 4x. And when I do, that leaves me a 4x squared minus 49. And I look at this and I see two terms with a negative, and I can see they're both square rootables because the square root of 4 is 2, the square root of 49 is 7. So on this means I'm going to have a negative 4x times a 2x plus 7 times a 2x minus 7. Ooh, this is what I call the MFDARM. Take the 5 times the 2, this picture of my family farm, and then factor the 10, which is 10 and 1 and 5 and 2. It's a minus this time, so I'm going to subtract. So which one of those makes the middle number? The 10 and 1. So just like before, I'm going to write x with a 10 and x with a 1. The larger number always matches the middle sign. 10's larger, the middle sign is negative. Negative goes there. If the last term is negative, then that means they both have to be this opposite. So it's going to be a positive. If that one's negative, it means it has to be positive. Now the answer is not this, because negative 10 times 1 is not negative 2. But what did I do to start with? I multiplied by 5 to start with. So now I'm going to divide by 5. So I divide. Now will 5 go into negative 10? Yes. 2 times. 5 won't go into 1. So now I'm going to I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it. Okay. So if it won't go in evenly, just move it in front. So my answer is x minus 2 times 5x plus 1. So once again, I have a number in front, an a term in front. There's not a number that goes into all these. So I'm going to take 4 times 1, which is 4. Factor 4. 4 and 1, 2 and 2. It's a plus sign here. So I'm going to put a plus sign here. So that adds up to 5. 4. 4 and 1 make the middle number. So I'm going to have an x with a 4 and an x with a 1. The larger number of these two, which is the 4, will match the middle sign, which is negative. And because the last one's positive, that means they have to be the same. Because the only way I can get a positive when I multiply is if they're both positive or they're both negative. Negative 4 times negative 1 will be a positive. But that's not the answer because 4 times 1 is not 1. But what I do, I multiplied by 4, so now I need to divide by 4 those terms. So 4 will go into negative 4 exactly 1 time. Will 4 go into 1? No, so now I've got to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. So I'm going to move the 4 in front. So I have 4x minus 1. So here I have quantity x minus 1 times the quantity 4x minus 1. There were a whole bunch of different terms that I went through very quickly there in factored. Don't forget, you can pause, stop, and back up. But that was the basic gist of most of the factoring that you will see.